everyone, here is another book for Home and Neighborhood. I like this book. I think it's a really funny story. It's called No Jumping on the Bed, and the author is Ted Arnold. And what I want to show you is that, look, here he is right here. He's jumping on the bed in his apartment building right here. And you can see he lives in the big city because there's lots of apartment buildings. But let's see what happens when he jumps on his bed in the apartment building. In his room near the top floor of a tall apartment building, Walter was getting ready for bed. His father said, "If I've told you once, I've told you a million times. No jumping on the bed. One day it's going to crash right through the floor. Now lie down and go to sleep." Walter plopped down on his pillow and squeezed his eyes closed. "Good night," said his father. He turned off the light and pulled the door almost shut. The room was dark and quiet, except for a soft thump, thump, thump coming from the room above. "That's Delbert upstairs," thought Walter. He switched on his lamp. If Delbert can jump on his bed, so can I. Walter jumped higher and higher until his hair brushed the ceiling. When he landed, the mattress creaked, the floor cracked, and his whole bed tipped sideways. Then down through the floor went Walter, bed and all. Look, it cracked. Walter's bedroom was directly above Miss Hattie's dining room. She was quite surprised when Walter landed in her spaghetti and meatballs. "I was not expecting any company for dinner," she mumbled with a mouthful of meatballs. "Look, there he is." Said Walter. "Spaghetti is my favorite." But he didn't have a chance to eat. His bed smashed through the table and kept right on crashing down through the floor. Down and down fell Walter, Miss Hattie, the spaghetti, the bed, and all. Look, they cracked through her floor, too. Mr. Matty didn't even notice a bed coming through his ceiling until a meatball bounced off of his head. Miss Matty landed in his lap and Walter splashed into his aquarium. "I've already had one bath tonight," said Walter. He wanted to watch the monsters on TV, but his bed crunched through the floor and took the TV with it. Down and down fell Walter, Miss Hattie, Mr. Matty, the TV, the spaghetti, the bed, and all. Walter's Aunt Batty had just moved in. She was still unpacking when Miss Hattie, Mr. Matty, and a dripping wet Walter tumbled through the ceiling right into a box with her stamp collection. Walter burst through the bottom of the box and down through the floor. Aunt Batty soon followed. Down and down fell Walter, Miss Hattie, Mr. Matty, Aunt Batty, the stamps, the TV, the spaghetti, the bed, and all. Patty and Natty had worked for days building a house of blocks. Afraid that Fatty Cat might knock it over, they shooed her out. Then the upstairs neighbors came through the ceiling. "Excuse us," said Walter. "We won't be staying long." Then his bed crashed through the floor. Down and down fell Walter, Miss Hattie, Mr. Matty, Aunt Batty, Patty, Natty, Fatty Cat, the blocks, the stamps, the TV, the spaghetti, the bed, and all. The last thing Mr. Hanratty expected to see was a bed coming through his studio ceiling, followed by nearly everyone in the building. "If I knew you'd wanted to see my paintings," he said, "I would have tidied up a bit." Then his floor caved in and everyone followed Walter's bed down through the hole. Down and down fell Walter, Miss Hattie, Mr. Matty, Aunt Batty, Patty, Natty, Fatty Cat, Mr. Hanratty, cans of paint, the blocks, the stamps, the TV, the spaghetti, the bed, and all. The floors just keep breaking. They just keep going down and down through the apartment building. Maestro Ferlinghetti and his string quartet were astonished by the colorful crowd that dropped in unannounced. "I love an audience," he said. But when paint splattered everywhere, the maestro wished his audience would leave. And they did, taking his string quartet with them. The maestro's floor was also the basement ceiling. It was dark as midnight down there. Walter squeezed his eyes closed and fell through the darkness until he landed on something soft. He opened his eyes. Everything was in its place, and outside the door his mother and father were talking quietly. "Whew! No more jumping on the bed for me," said Walter as he lay back down to sleep. He was just dreaming. Suddenly he heard a creak, the ceiling cracked, and down came Delbert, bed and all. Down and down fell Delbert. Thanks for listening and reading. I really like this book, No Jumping on the Bed. Do your parents let you jump on the bed? Mine didn't. Maybe yours do. Do you think if you jumped on the bed so much that your bed would crack and the hole in your floor, it would make a hole in your floor and your bed would fall down through the ceiling? I wonder. The best thing about stories like this is that you can make stories however you want. Funny things can happen. Things can happen that usually don't ever happen. Like ceilings cracking and beds falling through them and going down and down and down and down. So, anyways, thanks for reading. Bye.